All right, factoring. Again, this is all old news, but man, some of it, we are definitely going to hit some of the harder ones. Like in Algebra 2, is like, oh, there was a few at the end that were kind of hard. The rest were sort of normal. We're going to definitely hit some of the harder ones, yes. And since we know how to do this already, in theory, we're just going to jump in and do some examples together. 6x squared minus 30x plus 24. So what do you think we should do first?
Pull out the 6.
Yes. So I can't write this big enough to make your life a lot easier. Always, always, always look for the GCF first. So I'm writing that obnoxiously big in a color with stars to try to emphasize to look for it first. For one, it's not really hard, and secondly, it makes your problem a lot easier.
It's hard if it doesn't factor out correctly.
Now, if it doesn't have a GCF, well, sure, then you can't do it, but look for it first.
This one's easy.
Look for GCF first. Now, don't forget the 6 is still out there. Doesn't go away. Yeah, this should be an easy one. 4 and 1, both minus signs. And we stop there. It tells us to factor. It doesn't tell us to solve. We couldn't solve that one anyway because it's not equal to 0. So the trick on some of these is people take it too far. They're like, oh, x equals 4 and x equals 1. Not on this worksheet. Unless this said equals 0 and solve, you're stuck. This is as far as you can go. You factor it, but there is no solving because there is no equal signs. (16y squared minus 25). You recognize
y squared, you can't.
There are no GCS.
there is no GCF. That's true.
So it's not
Yeah, because it's a y squared too.
Oh, well, it wouldn't be a function because of the y squared, but we're not worried about function or not. We're worried about factoring.
I mean, you could just use a number.
But both of those are perfect squares.
so you would just square root both.
Difference quotient. Oh, shoot.
Difference of squares.
So it'd be 4y minus 5
And
That's 4.
no 4y plus 5
plus 5.
because it's plus or minus.
Because the plus minus thing, if you FOIL that out, you'd have a minus 20y and a plus 20y, and they'd cancel each other out. So that's the format for a difference of squares. You've probably done it plenty with x squared minus 9, x plus 3, x minus 3, but we kind of upped the game a little bit today when we put a coefficient on that first term. But it still works the same way. Square root the pieces, one's plus and one's minus. And the order doesn't matter which one you do first. (27a cubed minus 64).
Okay, so that one's a cube.
That's one's a cubes. So that one's going to look different. Do you remember what the
Trinomial.
what's the word I'm looking for? Acronym to help us factor
No.
sum or difference of cubes?
Difference of cube.
Difference of cubes. And sum of cubes works almost the same way. I think you'll recognize this when you see it. Soap.
I remember it, but I don't know what it is.
Same, opposite, always positive. So same sign, opposite sign, always positive. But that only tells you the signs. That doesn't tell you what goes in the blanks.
Oh, man, these are some big numbers.
So SOAP is nice, but doesn't tell you everything.
Doesn't give you the answer.
Yeah. Now, to start with, it's kind of like difference of squares. We're going to cube root the two pieces, which shouldn't be hard because we recognize it as a difference of cubes. So what would we have cubed to get to 27a cubed? Well, not just 3, though. 3a. And what would we have cubed to get to 64?
4.
4. 3a and 4. We'll square the first to go in that first blank.
9a?
A squared.
But square all of 3a, 9a squared. And yes, the error will be people will square one of them but not the other one. So I'll see 3a squared there and I'll see 9a there. You got to square all of it. Do you remember what goes in the middle blank?
You combine
Yeah, you say combine, I'll say multiply.
negative. I can't do math. You good? No.
And you don't have to worry about the negative because the SOAP took care of the sign. So don't worry about the minus 4. Just do 3a times 4 is 12a. Again, SOAP made it positive. We don't have to worry about that. And then the last term, I mean, there's kind of a pattern here. Square the first, multiply the two together, square the second. And then if you did it correctly, this second set looks like it should factor. Like you're like, oh, how do I factor that? That doesn't factor any further.
Yeah, that's what I was.
So you're done. You don't have to sit there and try to figure out how in the world would that make that work. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah, I don't remember this.
X to the fourth minus 81. Is 81 fourth? 81 does fourth root, but we don't have a method for factoring fourth roots. So yes, but are they both squares?
Yes.
So how do we factor a difference of squares?
You just square root.
Oh, I saw it. Where is it? This one.
Plus 9 minus 9.
Okay, so x squared plus 9, x squared minus 9.
It's 3. You had to use a calculator. No, it's just pretty.
And then the reason we did this, we're not done yet.
Why not?
Because now we're going to do the same thing to that one.
Because we could do x squared minus 9.
No, you could just do the plus or minus. Squared.
How about x squared plus 9?
No.
Can't do that one because that's a sum of squares. So that one is stuck at x squared plus 9.
X squared.
So we did that one to see that sometimes one step isn't enough. Make sure you factor it all the way. Number 5. We are gradually increasing in difficulty here. Km plus 7k plus 2m plus 14.
We all just.
Hold on.
What are we doing here? Crying.
Yeah. 17. Ooh.
Yes, k's and m's are just variables. That's not kilometers and meters and k's. Do you remember how to factor if there are 4 terms?
Absolutely.
There's really only one thing you can do. You can group them. You can work on grouping. So we'll group them, and then we'll do GCF a bunch of times. So what's the GCF of KM and 7K?
Probably
K. I can factor out a K. It leaves M plus 7.
The other one you can do 2 and then the inside parentheses M and plus 7.
The other one I can factor out a 2, and that leaves M plus 7. Well, that's kind of...
Oh, you can just, I know this one. You gotta put the K plus 2 in the parentheses and then just the M plus 7. You just put a square thing on it, right?
Yeah, we can... What we're doing is we're going to factor out now, we're going to factor out the M plus 7.
I don't know how to get there, but I can.
They both have an M plus 7, so instead of... Like on this one, they both had a K, and we factored out the K.
I did it. K plus 2.
On this one, they both have an M plus 7. So...
M plus 7 squared.
K plus 2.
Would you put a square?
Look, this one had 1K, I took out the 1K. This one has an M plus 7, I take out the M plus 7.
Would you put a square on M plus 7 because there's 2?
I didn't put a square on the K.
But there's only 1.
There's only 1K. There's only one M plus 7.
But
Yeah, wouldn't you? Because you're.
wait, because there's 2 M plus 7s.
There's 2 Ks. There's 1 in each term, so I factor out the 1K.
Alright.
But what you're saying is a common mistake. People are like, oh, look, there's 2 M plus 7s. Yeah, but there's only 1 in each term. Right? If I have 5x plus XA, I'm going to factor out the x. There's only one x to take from each term.
It doesn't matter which order they're in. Like,
It doesn't matter which order they're in.
okay.
I don't know if this is helpful or more confusing, but if I had 7 green triangle plus x green triangle, how would I factor that out?
With a green triangle.
Green triangle. Squared or not on that green triangle?
No.
No, there's only one green triangle to take. 7 plus x. It's like over here, there was only one m plus 7 to take. M plus 7 was kind of the role of the green triangle.
I see.
Let's do one more.
They got bamboozled. They do have a big frame. Dude, oh, that's right. That's what I was trying to correct.
This is the one that messes people up, or people find the most difficult.
Is it not factored?
It's factorable. 6x squared plus 7x minus 3. Like to take out a GCF, but there's not one.
I know the truth to these.
And there are lots of different ways.
Do it 8 times 2.
Dude, hold on.
I will.
Okay.
Our brains are going.
There are lots of different ways to do this. They all come back to you've got to multiply A and C.
He's doing the thing.
So you're going to multiply to get negative 18.
I love this trick.
And we're going to find two numbers that multiply to negative 18 and add. You know what we're going to be our add target?
Probably the middle one.
The middle one, 7. So I need two numbers that add to 7, multiply to negative 18. So let's see, 18 would be 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. So 2 and 9 if negative 2 and positive 9. Now here's the big deal with this method. Those are not your factors. Okay? Do not write x minus 2 and x plus 9. Because if you multiply those out, well, you're going to get negative 18 at the end. You're also not going to get 6 at the beginning. So that's not it. We're going to take this 7x and we're going to rewrite it with the negative 2 and the 9. Negative 2x plus 9x. This is called split the middle term. We take the middle term and we split it up. And it looks weird. It's like, why would you take 7x and rewrite it as negative 2 plus 9? Like, we never go that way. We're used to starting with this and combining like terms. But for factoring, we're going to split it up because, you know what we're going to do next? The thing. The thing, yes.
Do the thing.
The thing where we group them. If you make it this far, it's usually pretty easy because grouping is a pretty easy way to factor. So factor out a 2x, 3x minus 1. Factor out a 3. That leaves. And if your leftovers are the same, you know you're doing it right.
And what if your leftovers are different?
Then I either wrote the problem wrong or you're doing something wrong.
Okay, so there will never not be that.
Correct.
Cool.
When you're dealing with larger numbers, though, you can do something else, right?
3x minus 1. Oop, okay.
And 2x plus 3. And not that many people would, but it wouldn't be hard to check that. What would you need to do to check to see if this was right? Foil it. If you foil that and get back to where you started, then you know you got it right. At the very least, you should do the f and the L of foil. 3x times 2x gets me 6x squared. Negative 1 times 3 gets me negative 3. It's not a full check, but maybe I feel halfway good about that answer.
When you're doing larger numbers, you can do something else. You don't need it.
I mean, there's some people that can do that can jump straight to here, but that's kind of tricky to pull that off. I want you to try one more of that type. 10x squared minus 3x minus 1. Figure out what they need to multiply to, what they need to add to, and then do this split the middle term thing. Different ways come in. You can put the negative 5 first or the 2 first, and it doesn't matter. It makes your middle steps look different, but you're still going to land at the same spot.
2x and then parentheses 5x plus 1 and the other one. It's just.
I'm going to go negative 5x plus 2x. But again, the order you put them there doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to the final answer. It does matter on the grouping step.
Wait a second. How did you get 3 to 5?
And then I'm grouping. So I can take out a 5x. That leaves 2x minus 1. Oh, I like that this happened on this one.
I know.
Mine was just the opposite. Mine was
So
just the outside,
how do I,
the inside.
what can I factor out of 2x minus 1?
You can't add
1.
Nothing, but if I really want to take something out to make the method work, I can factor out a 1. Alright, that didn't really change anything. But now it looks like it's supposed to look. And they both have a 2x minus 1.
Except we don't pull out a 1, does that mean you're going to count the question wrong?
Well, I mean, that would mean you'd be stopping like right there.
Well, then,
You've got to get to here to get it correct.
I got a different answer.
I did 2 the first time.
Yeah.
So the way it might show up different is if you wrote these in a different order. If you put plus 2x
No, I didn't.
minus 5x.
If you put the 2
No, I just went.
or
I didn't group them.
So you factor out a 2x, that leaves 5x plus 1. Factor out a negative 1. So this is looking different, but when we get to the end, it's the same thing. So there's different ways to get there, but there's only one right answer.
I got an answer.
So what do you think the answer is?
Unless you can disprove me. I got x minus 1/2, and then 10x plus 2.
Okay, that's gonna work, but we don't want 1/2 in there.
Why not? These are-
So this would be okay, because you're gonna end at the same answer. You're gonna.
So you'd count that as a full.
I would, unless it said.
Unless it was like a multiple choice.
So
It'd
change
count as
the
a
multiple
full
choice. It'd be like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
But this would be okay.
I just took them as roots and divided.
Yes.
And I just put it.
All right. So today's assignment is worksheet 2. It's just a lot of factoring. It's only one side, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, but it's like,
I know it's still a lot of problems on there. And due Friday will be worksheets 1 through 4.
Do Friday.
And we might have a quiz on. It's on the syllabus. It's on the calendar for having one on block day. But I don't have it written yet, so I need to check with my other pre-cal people and see what the plan is. I'll let you know for sure tomorrow.